Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about my official early predictions for the 91st Annual Academy Awards, which are going to take place next year. Now, I know what you're thinking, isn't it a little early to be doing these? Yes, it is, but I want to get these out as soon as possible. Now, what I did was I ran through lists upon lists of every single movie coming out this year, but I didn't look at too many other people who were doing early Oscar predictions. And yes, there are other people who do Oscar predictions this early. But I decided to go... I wouldn't base my opinion off anyone else's opinion. I was going to just look solely at what movies are coming out next year, and my opinion would come solely from that. Now, these are not going to be accurate. I'm just going to let you know right now, I tried my hardest, so they might be slightly more accurate than usual, but there are going to be films that come out of nowhere that surprise me. And some of these films that I'm going to talk about that look genuinely promising are going to turn out to be disappointing. But I think it'll be really interesting to watch this video in a year's time to see what I got right and what I got wrong. With that said, here are my predictions. First, I'm going to be taking this category starting with the less popular categories and working my way up. So for the category of Best Animated Feature, my predictions are Early Man, The Incredibles 2, Isle of Dogs, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So here, I'm going to take you to my official chart, and it's not a very impressive chart, but this shows you how I rank these animated films. And if you look at 6 through 10, it's not terribly impressive this year for animated films. It looks slightly better than last year, but that's not saying a great deal. With that being said, I haven't seen anything about like G-Kids or some foreign animated film, and we're probably going to get one or two in there at the last minute. Currently, I don't have any. And if you ask me to predict a winner right now, I'd probably say Isle of Dogs. Now, some people will say The Incredibles 2. Pixar sequels don't do as well in this category. In fact, just having Incredibles 2 nominated is a bit of a stretch because they tend not to nominate Pixar sequels when they know they're not going to give it the win. But I think Incredibles 2 is going to be a good movie, and even if it doesn't win, I think people will... I don't know, I'm not going to say it's going to be nominated, but at this point, there's nothing else that really fits that I can use. Wreck-It Ralph 2 I think will get on, but it seems like a far cry from the winner. I think Isle of Dogs makes the most sense as a winner, because it's Wes Anderson, and Wes Anderson has not won an Oscar yet, and this is a prime opportunity to give him one. And then Early Man and Spider-Man, those two, honestly, I have no idea if they'll make it in the end, but they were the two that made sense of the remaining animated films that came out this year. I mean, again, look through 6 through 10, none of them really make sense as nominees. Maybe I could see Teen Titans making it in, but I don't know. We're going to get some foreign films or hand-drawn films that come in at the last minute. They're going to surprise us, and those are going to get on. But with the information I have now, this is your most likely category. Okay. For Best Achievement in Sound Mixing, my predicted nominees are First Man, Kursk, Operation Finale, Solo, A Star Wars Story, A Star is Born. So once again, I'm applying the chart for you to look at. Excuse me. Now, I don't know how many of you will know what these these are, rather. Operation Finale is a film about the Holocaust. Kursk is a war film. Those two movies I had not heard of before looking over these charts. And just so you know, Operation Finale is directed by Chris Weitz. Kursk is directed by Thomas Vinterberg. These are directors who are somewhat established in the scene. I think both of those movies show up a lot in these predictions. So just be aware that that's what those are. A Star is Born is a remake of the famous movie, and this one's going to have Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga in it. And First Man. So First Man is the story of Neil Armstrong, which it's a bit surprising that there hasn't already been a big Hollywood biopic about him. But this one is directed by Academy Award winner Damien Chazelle of Whiplash and La La Land fame, and stars Ryan Gosling as Neil Armstrong. So based on that alone, it seems like a top contender at the Oscars. And I want to stress something. Just because I ranked something number 1 doesn't mean I think it's going to win. Rather, it means I think it's going to have the best chance of getting nominated. At this point, it's honestly too early to talk about winners, at least in most of these categories. Also, Black Panther. I believe I predicted Black Panther to get 1 nomination, but I always have it in that runner-up section, because you never know. That film is very, very, very popular, but it's popular right now. We'll see how popular it is at the end of the year. I could see it being a Best Picture thing, but let's just wait and see how good the rest of the movies this year are. Okay. Best Sound Editing. My predicted nominees are Black Panther, First Man, Kursk, Operation Finale, and Solo, A Star Wars Story. So, last year, the sound editing and sound mixing categories matched 5 for 5. This year, according to these predictions, I have them matching 4 for 5. The only change is I have Black Panther in sound editing and A Star is Born in sound mixing, which makes sense. Black Panther is a big superhero movie that they're going to want to give at least 1 nomination to avoid what happened with Wonder Woman. And Star is Born, that's a musical, and those historically do very well in sound mixing and not in sound editing. So, outside of that, there's not a whole lot to say. I do want to mention here, number 7 here in this category is The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, which is supposed to be a Terry Gilliam film from the director of Brazil that he's worked on quite a lot. I have this film show up in quite a lot, but I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be in a Best Picture category or not. I'm not entirely sure how much it's going to be participating in the Oscar race. So you see me flip-flop quite a bit with this film. Okay. Best Original Song. The films I have selected as nominees in this category are Christopher Robin, First Man, The Happy Time Murders, Mary Poppins Returns, and A Star is Born. Okay, if you look at the whole category, original song might be the hardest category to predict a year in advance, because we have no idea which of these movies will have original songs. It's always exciting to see musicals happen. I think A Star is Born and Mary Poppins Returns, those, I feel confident not only that they'll have songs, but also that they'll be contending in the Oscar race. The other films, you don't know. Like, songs could come from a quiet indie film that I have Disobedience there. I feel that movie could have a song, but it could not. Or Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. I included that just on the off chance that it might have an original song, but by all intents and purposes, it seems like there are only ABBA songs that were pre-existing in that film. Maybe they'll write something new for that movie. I don't know. It's really hard to know what they're going to nominate in this category. You're like shooting fish in a barrel while completely blind is what it's like to predict Best Original Song. But A Star is Born and Mary Poppins Returns, those are the best bets I have for right now. Okay. Best Original Score. The nominees I'm predicting are First Man, If Beale Street Could Talk, Kursk, The Mercy, Operation Finale. Okay, on a side note, it is getting really, really hard to say Kursk. I think people are going to have to practice that. So Kursk and Operation Finale, I think both of those have scores by Alexandre Desplat. I'm not 100% sure. He's working on more than one film this year, and he just won last year for The Shape of Water. He also won for Grand Budapest Hotel. He's doing very good for himself. First Man is Jordan Horowitz, who wrote La La Land, also has an Oscar. So we don't know what's going to happen. If Beale Street Could Talk, that music is by the person who wrote the music for Moonlight, because that movie is from the director of Moonlight, Barry Jenkins. And The Mercy. So I honestly don't know too much about this film, but I included it as the fifth nominee simply because the music is done by Johan Johansson, the great composer who recently passed away, and this is their last chance to give him an Oscar nomination. He did the music for Sicario, The Theory of Everything, and Arrival. And again, the other films in this category could contend. It's hard to know. This is just what I have for you. The nominations make the most sense, but anything is possible. Best Visual Effects. My predicted nominees are First Man, Kursk, Mary Poppins Returns, Ready Player One, and Solo: A Star Wars Story. Now, visual effects might be the most challenging category to predict a year in advance because we don't know. Obviously, the movies that everyone's talking about, these are the movies I can't wait to see in 2018. They're the big, heavy effects ones. I don't think Solo: A Star Wars Story is going to win. I think it's definitely going to be nominated, and it's one of the surest bets for a nomination that we have at this point, because all Star Wars films have got nominated, I think. Maybe one of them didn't, but I'm pretty sure they all got nominated for visual effects. First Man is going to be a NASA, and there's going to be space stuff in it, so makes sense. Kursk is going to be like, from what I understand, it's going to be like the submarine version of Dunkirk. Ready Player One is all about virtual reality, and Mary Poppins Returns is bringing back a classic film that originally won the Oscar back in 1964. So, and I don't know, Wrinkle in Time could make it, Black Panther could make it, they could be like, oh hey, here's where we can nominate this movie. It's hard to tell. And I included Tomb Raider simply because I'm super, super stoked for that movie. I love the video game, and I want to see a good video game movie work, but we'll see what happens with that film. Okay, best visual effects, that's hard to predict, but I think that's a solid 5 I've got going on there. Best makeup and hairstyling. My predicted nominees are Backseat, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, and Ophelia. Okay, so not a whole lot to say with this one. Backseat is the one where Christian Bale plays Dick Cheney. So that's going to be, and there's a lot of makeup in that, a lot of aging makeup, a lot of realistic biopic makeup, just from what we've seen in the still photos. And last year, you could tell from just the still photos for Darkest Hour, that's going to contend for best makeup. And the same thing this year, it's sort of just a gut feeling. Man Who Killed Don Quixote, I think that's going to have a lot of cool period makeup. And Ophelia, that film, for those who don't know, Ophelia is sort of one of the films I'm most interested in this year. That film is a retelling of the story of Hamlet told from Ophelia's perspective. And I think in today's classic Me Too movement, I think it might be interesting to take a story that we all know by heart at this point and shed a different point of view on it, especially because it's got a female director and writer attached to it. I believe who's playing Ophelia? Daisy Ridley is. And Naomi Watts is playing Gertrude. So we'll see what happens. It looks very interesting. But yeah, that's my prediction. And again, I really wish this category would upgrade to 5 nominees because there's more than 3 great makeup works and every other category has 5 nominees, but whatever, you do you, Academy. Okay, best costume design. My predicted nominees are How to Talk to Girls at Parties, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, Mary Poppins Returns, Mary, Queen of Scots, and Ophelia. So this is kind of funny. We have 2 Mary films. I think Mary Poppins Returns is definitely going to get nominated just from the trailer. I think it's an iconic costume that they've recreated, but I don't think it's going to win. I think Mary, Queen of... Again, they don't want to talk about winning at this point, but it's definitely going to get nominated. And the others feel like safe bets. How to Talk to Girls at Parties, that's That's a film. All I know about the film is that what's her name? Hey, who that famous costume designer who won for I'm this is bugging me. I'm gonna look her up, but she won for Alice in Wonderland, and she won for Fantastic Beasts. So she's probably one of the most famous. She gets nominated for just about everything. So I imagine that they're gonna give it to her. Colleen Atwood. There it is. I'm so sorry. I had to look that up. So sorry, Colleen Atwood. She has 4 Oscars, and she's gonna get another nomination, I predict. Black Panther, I don't know, the Academy might be like, oh, we've seen superhero costumes before. It all depends on how well the movie is remembered and liked at the end of the year. Because people are already tooting its horns to be a big Oscar thing, but we'll have to wait and see what other movies come out first. Okay, Best Production Design. My official predictions are First Man, Kursk, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, Mary Poppins Returns, and Operation Finale. So, Mary Poppins Returns is the one that I think most people should have. If you saw that trailer, even if the movie ends up bombing with the critics, I think people are going to look at that and go, they recreated the set and everything. Like, when you see Cherry Tree Lane in that trailer, anyone who grew up with that movie knows what Cherry Tree Lane looks like, and to see it fully realized in a way that it doesn't look like a cheap set made in the 60s anymore. It looks like a real street, but it still looks exactly the same. Like, it's crazy. You're like, wow, that is amazing. So major props to the production designers of that movie already before it's even come out. It's going to get nominated. I don't think it's going to win, but I have it number 1 because, yeah, most likely going to be nominated. First Man, that movie looks to be a big thing in the text. We'll see exactly how it translates. Kursk and Operation Finale, and then Man Who Killed Don Quixote. These nominations make sense. And then 6 through 10 hopefully make a decent amount of sense too. But there are going to be a couple of things that come out of nowhere that we really have no way of predicting. But right now, these 5 make sense as nominees. Okay. Best Cinematography. My predicted nominees are First Man, Kursk, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, Operation Finale, and Under the Silver Lake. So, again, 4 of these, I feel like you know about them. Under the Silver Lake, that film... Wait. Okay, sorry, that's nothing. That's one of my emails. That's the problem with recording these videos. But, Under the Silver Lake is a film by David Gordon Green. No, not David Gordon Green. David Robert Mitchell. It's a film by... I'm going to scroll up and look at the director's name. David Robert Mitchell. Yeah, I got it right on the second try. Yippee for me. But this David Robert Mitchell directed the film It Follows, which was a big deal. And now this is his follow-up film, and it's got a pretty impressive cast and crew behind it. And one thing that I've noticed, if you want to pay attention to the Oscar race, you'll look for a movie that was done by a guy or girl who the director has a project on their belt that people know of, that was an indie film that people talked about but wasn't an Oscar thing. And now they're trying to make a film that's more Oscar friendly. Those are the films you should look for in this category, always. And whenever you're predicting the Oscars. So, yeah, these nominations make sense. I don't think there's too much to add there. Also, I mentioned real quick, The Little Stranger, that film, I don't know if it shows up anywhere else, but that movie is Lenny Abramson's follow-up project after Room, and it's a horror film. So I don't know if that's going to do anything. I am intrigued about it. Okay, so there we go. Best Film Editing. My predicted nominations are First Man, Kursk, The Miseducation of Cameron Post, Operation Finale, and Under the Silver Lake. So, The Miseducation of Cameron Post is the big one that's coming in now, which is another one of the major Best Picture contenders. That film is the film that won Sundance. And you always want to pay attention to the film that wins Sundance. Sometimes it's Birth of a Nation and it's not a big deal, but sometimes it's sometimes it's Whiplash or it'll be something big and undeniable. And we don't know what direction is going to go this year. I'm predicting that the Sundance winner, The Miseducation of Cameron Post, is going to be a big deal because it's a topical film. It's a film about a gay girl played by Chloe Moretz who is sent to a gay correction facility, which those are very real places that exist, as terrible as they are. And I think it's important for people to be reminded of it. And if it won Sundance, I'm going to say it's going to be a very powerful film. So I hope that this film is good, and I hope it's well received. The Miseducation of Cameron Post. You'll notice again I have Black Panther just in the background contending. Honestly, I think that the 5 films I have selected are good, and I apologize if I have the same bunch of films show up in a bunch of places. That's fairly typical for the Oscars, but again, it's a little bit hard to grasp sometimes. I'm a little unsure about whether or not Kursk or Operation Finale are going to do as well as I'm saying they are, because I haven't heard of either film before I looked up them in the Oscars. But if one or both of those movies end up doing surprisingly well, you heard it here first. Okay, we're getting to the top 8 now. Top 8 categories. Start with the screenplays. My predictions for Best Adapted Screenplay are First Man, If Beale Street Could Talk, A Kid Like Jake, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, and The Miseducation of Cameron Post. Okay, so those 5 seem like very strong contenders. And again, I think I've covered most of them at this point. If Beale Street Could Talk is Barry Jenkins' follow-up to Moonlight. A Kid Like Jake is a film I have predicted in a few places. And I know that one was at Sundance, and it intrigued me. In the film, Jim Parsons and Claire Danes play parents of a young 4-year-old boy who is beginning to show signs of becoming transgender. They're beginning to show signs of wanting to be a girl, and they have to deal with this. So that film seems kind of interesting. I think they'll want to look at films with more progressive themes. I think A Kid Like Jake is one to keep your eye on this year. But also, number 8 in this category, Crazy Rich Asians, don't underestimate that one. Because that one is an adaptation of a beloved book, and if it succeeds, if it's a big box office success, maybe they could want to reward that somewhere, because, after all, it's a good way to include diversity in the lineup. Best Original Screenplay. My predicted nominees are Backseat, Operation Finale, The Peanut Butter Falcon, Under the Silver Lake, and Widows. So I think you know what most of these are. Peanut Butter Falcon is sort of this film that I heard about with Shia LaBeouf and from 50 Shades, Dakota Johnson. And it feels almost like it could be the indie breakout hit of the year. Widows is Steve McQueen's follow-up to 12 Years a Slave. Tully is a Jason Reitman film. Isle of Dogs I was hesitant about because we don't know how well that's going to do. But part of me is genuinely interested because Wes Anderson's last film was a major Oscar success. And I'm almost beginning to feel that if anybody can make animated films contend in top Oscar categories, it's him. But we'll see what happens with the reviews of that. The fact that trailer played in front of literally every single movie I saw last year helps. Although the fact that I am so utterly sick of seeing that trailer does not help. Okay. Best Supporting Actress. Now, this is when it gets hard. The acting categories were really difficult to do. My predicted nominees are Amy Adams, Backseat. Jennifer L., The Miseducation of Cameron Post. Claire Foy, First Man. Riley Keough, Under the Silver Lake. I'm hoping that's how you pronounce her name. And Margot Robbie, Mary Queen of Scots. Okay, so I want this to be Amy Adams' year. And if it is, I mean, part of me feels that she should be contending in lead actress, but she's playing Dick Cheney's wife in Backseat. It's a standard supporting wife role in a biopic from the guy who directed The Big Short, so he's going to contend. And people are going to say, give Amy Adams an Oscar already. It might seem a little weak, like it might not be one of her best performances, but it seems like an easy way to give her an Oscar. But she's not a lock by any means. Jennifer L., I feel, could very much contend. She's playing the director at this board of gay correction facility. It seems like a villain role, and that might be one. Or people might want to give it to Margot Robbie, or even Claire Foy. Or even one of the 5 I didn't include, but could always make it on. And there are even more people I didn't include, like the actress from Tully. I forget her name, but I almost had her in. It's so hard to predict the acting categories. Any one of these 10 women could make up a solid 5. But I want it to be Amy Adams' year. Then we'll see what happens. I love Amy Adams so much. Best Supporting Actor, my predicted nominees are Daniel Kaluuya, Widows, Ben Kingsley, Operation Finale, Jonathan Pryce, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, Sam Rockwell, Backseat, and Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Outlaw King. Honestly, that's a really solid lineup right there. I don't know who's going to win. They could all contend. Ben Kingsley and Jonathan Pryce are both playing central figures in their films. Daniel Kaluuya could get a rebound nomination after the success of last year with Get Out and Black Panther. Sam Rockwell, what's the name for it? When they nominate you again, when you just won. I think Victory Lap nomination, something like that. But Sam Rockwell won last year, and some people might be like, hey, let's nominate him again. And he's playing George W. Bush, I believe. So, good on them. It'll be interesting to see how he does that performance in a way that doesn't feel too much like mocking. But I'm intrigued. And I think that's all of them. Aaron Taylor-Johnson. Outlaw King is a film by David Mackenzie. It is his follow-up film to Hell or High Water. We'll see how well that goes. You'll notice I've had it in like my runner-up in my runner-up section for a number of categories. So yeah, those 5 men look like a strong category. Best Actress in a Leading Role. Okay, now this was a hard category to do. I really like my 5. My 5 is strong, but I can't help but feel that the 6 through 10 is also very good, and we could get a surprise nominee here. Okay, my predicted nominees are Glenn Close, The Wife, Viola Davis, Widows, Chloe Grace Moretz, The Miseducation of Cameron Post, Regina King, If Beale Street Could Talk, and Saoirse Ronan, Mary Queen of Scots. Okay, I may have messed up the way I say that alphabetically wise. Glenn Close, I have her sort of out of obligation. People say this could be her year. People also say this could be Saoirse Ronan's year. I say don't leave out Regina King. Her role in If Beale Street Could Talk sounds very, very meaty and baity. So if that film is a contender, seriously watch out. Chloe Grace Moretz, I think she could very easily score her first nomination. She's been working for quite some time now, and she's very prolific for someone her age. I think Viola Davis, we can expect an encore nomination, I think is what it's called. Viola Davis, we can all welcome her back. Don't leave out Lady Gaga, because people like to see musicians act. in these categories. Just look at the nomination for Mary J. Blige last year. Felicity Jones, because she's playing a very meaty role. And honestly, keep an eye out on Melissa McCarthy in Can You Ever Forgive Me? Because Melissa McCarthy is doing drama in this film, and I have a sneaking suspicion that she might be a contender. Keep an eye out on that. Okay, only 3 categories left. Best Actor. Okay, my predicted nominees are Christian Bale, Backseat; Bradley Cooper, A Star is Born; Andrew Garfield, Under the Silver Lake; Ryan Gosling, First Man; and Jim Parsons, A Kid Like Jake. Okay, I'm a straight guy, but seriously, that is the most attractive Best Actor lineup that I've ever come across. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. But even I have Adam Driver, Chris Pine, Ben Foster, Oscar Isaac, Steve Carell. Well, sorry, Steve Carell. Honestly, this could be a very attractive year for Best Actor, but a year filled with talent. I'm interested to see how Jim Parsons does in a dramatic film role like this. Andrew Garfield feels like he's on his way to a second nomination. He already feels like a beloved actor. He's only got one so far for Hacksaw Ridge, but he's got Social Network, Breathe, and Spider-Man under his belt. So, okay, Bradley Cooper, seriously consider him. I think the award might come down to Christian Bale and Ryan Gosling. I put Gosling just because he doesn't already have an Oscar, but honestly, I'm not entirely sure who's going to win this. Like last year, I feel we all kind of knew Gary Oldman was going to have his year, but I don't know. None of these really feel like a winner. Maybe Bradley Cooper. Maybe it could be him because he hasn't won an Oscar yet. We'll see what happens. But this looks like a solid lineup. I'm not as confident with this as I am in some of the other categories, but it feels like a solid enough lineup. Best Director. My official nominee predictions. Okay, I'm going to butcher this name. I'm sorry. Desiree Akavan, The Miseducation of Cameron Post; Damien Chazelle, First Man; Barry Jenkins, If Beale Street Could Talk; David Robert Mitchell, Under the Silver Lake; and Chris Weitz, Operation Finale. Okay, so the director of The Miseducation of Cameron Post, I'm going to learn to say her name at some point, but she and Barry Jenkins could become the 6th examples of women and black directors nominated, because we had both Greta Gerwig and Jordan Peele, and it would be great if we can get more women and more directors of color into this category. Great to one day see a woman of color, but I digress. So I put Damien Chazelle on, I don't know, just because he seems like the most likely. I'm not entirely sure he's going to win. And again, spoiler alert, I have First Man in number 1 and Picture 2, but I don't really know. And we don't really know what's going to happen with this category. It's just, I put Thomas Vinterberg as a close 6th, because I don't know, I'm not entirely sure how to feel about Kursk, to be honest. It feels almost like a Captain Phillips type movie. Okay, moving on to the final category Best Picture. My predicted nominees. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to try to say these 10 films in alphabetical order. And that is... Oh, okay, I don't know how to do this. Okay, here they are. Backseat. First Man. If Beale Street Could Talk. A Kid Like Jake. Kursk. Mary Queen of Scots. The Miseducation of Cameron Post. Operation Finale. Under the Silver Lake. And Widows. Now again, I don't know if there's going to be exactly 10 nominees. I thought about just predicting 9, but it's hard. 10 is just a good safety net to have, especially the first predictions of the year, because chances are I'll have 1 or 2 of these right. And again, I don't know what's going to happen. I put Isle of Dogs at 15 just on the off chance that Wes Anderson is able to pull a miracle off. But if Coco couldn't happen, then I like if Isle of Dogs gets nominated, I might be genuinely upset about that. Depends on how good the movie is. But Coco really should have gotten on. Okay, so those are my official predictions, my official first predictions of 2018. I think I'm going to have like little monthly updates on these, so stay tuned for that. But these are the movies you want to keep an eye out over the course of this year for all you Oscar buffs like myself. Okay, that's my prediction. See you later.